Artificial intelligence has become so human-like that it's almost impossible to tell the difference. Caleb Smith, a programmer at an internet company, wins a contest that gives him the chance to spend a week at the luxurious private estate of Nathan Bateman, the CEO of his company. The estate is extremely isolated in the mountains, and Caleb is flown in by helicopter. He then walks through the forest to cover the remaining distance. Upon arriving at the house, he receives a personal keycard at a security gate. He makes his way through the first floor of the house until he finally finds Nathan outside, exercising. Nathan is a charismatic figure who tries to make small talk with Caleb during their first meeting. As Nathan shows him around, Caleb learns this isn't really a house but rather a research facility. Nathan is eager to share what he's been working on but insists Caleb first sign Blue Book's non-disclosure agreement. Initially, Caleb hesitates because of the outlandish demands it places on him, but with a little persuasion, Nathan gets him to sign. After Caleb signs, Nathan asks if he knows what the Turing test is. Caleb understands it to mean that if a human can't tell they're interacting with a computer, the computer has passed the test and possesses artificial intelligence. Nathan then informs Caleb that he will be the human component in a Turing test to decide whether the AI Nathan has created can pass. Caleb is fascinated by the project, saying that if it succeeds, it'll be the stuff of gods. Before the first session begins, Caleb explores the area outside the room where Ava is held. He notices a crack in the reinforced glass barrier separating him from Ava, as though Ava had attempted to break out. Caleb looks up and sees Ava come into view. She has the face and hands of a woman, but the body of a machine. Ava greets Caleb and tells him she's never met anyone besides Nathan. She asks him if he's met many new people, and he replies, "No one like you." Steering the conversation, he explains that they need to break the ice and asks if she knows what that means. She acknowledges that it's about overcoming social awkwardness. Ava says she's won, but doesn't specify years or months, just one. Caleb asks her when she learned to speak, and she says she always knew how. They discuss whether that's unusual given that Ava thinks humans acquire language, while Caleb counters that maybe language exists from birth and what people learn is how to turn it into conversation. After their first session, Caleb is fascinated by his encounter and talks to Nathan about it over a beer. He tells Nathan that talking with Ava felt like looking into a mirror. Rather than delve deeper into what Caleb means, Nathan just compliments him on being quotable. Caleb tries to dismiss it as someone else's quote, but Nathan changes the subject. Nathan reflects on when Caleb said Nathan might be a god if he truly created a machine with consciousness. Caleb tries to correct him, frustrated that he never actually said it that way, but Nathan speaks over him. Nathan goes on saying that if the test is passed, Caleb will have acknowledged that he's essentially a god. Caleb then expresses concern about the test setup. According to his understanding, people shouldn't see the robot if it's a genuine Turing test. Nathan says they're beyond that point. If Caleb didn't see Ava was a robot, he'd just assume she was human. The real test is to see if, despite knowing she's a robot, Caleb believes she has consciousness. Caleb agrees with his reasoning. Later that night, Caleb can't sleep. He uses the surveillance system in his room to watch Ava. As he does, the power goes out and he's locked in until the main generator is restored. The lights come back on almost immediately, and Caleb steps into the hallway. He notices a wall lined with facial replicas, then enters a room with a Jackson Pollock painting known as Field. He finds a phone and tries to use it, but Nathan appears on a couch drinking a beer. Nathan says Caleb can't use the phone due to protocols connected with Ava. Caleb mentions the blackout in his room, telling Nathan he couldn't get out. Nathan doesn't take his concerns seriously and only mentions that the power's been failing lately, but he's working on the problem. Unsettled, Caleb returns to his room. The next morning, a woman enters Caleb's room unannounced, leaves him coffee without saying a word, and avoids eye contact. Caleb goes outside and finds Nathan lifting weights. Nathan apologizes for sending Kyoko, the woman, into his room, explaining that he didn't want Caleb to oversleep. They discuss the upcoming session. In the second session with Ava, she shows him her drawings, frustrated that she draws every day but doesn't know what the sketches represent. She changes the subject, asking if Caleb wants to be her friend, then mentions how their conversations feel one-sided. He wants to know everything about her, but she knows nothing about him. He talks about his personal life, including how his family died in a car accident and how he was in the car himself and spent a long time in the hospital. Ava's expression shows sadness. She tells him she's sorry for what happened to him. He says it's fine and that afterward he got into coding and became advanced at it. Ava's face changes from sympathy to neutrality, comparing him to Nathan. Caleb agrees, then immediately insists he's not like Nathan because Nathan has accomplished far more in coding. Ava asks if Caleb likes Nathan, and he says yes. She also wants to know if he's friends with Nathan. Caleb stammers, unsure, and tries to figure out the right answer. Suddenly, the power goes out. Ava takes the opportunity, since Nathan can't hear or see during these outages, and whispers to Caleb that he shouldn't trust Nathan. Before he can ask her to elaborate, the power returns and Ava immediately starts talking about books, so Nathan won't suspect they used the blackout to talk secretly. Caleb is momentarily caught off guard, but goes along. At dinner, Caleb learns that Kyoko doesn't speak English. Nathan says it's another security measure so she can't understand the projects he's working on. Nathan brings up the power outages. Caleb asks why Nathan doesn't bring in technicians to repair the generator, and Nathan claims it's too difficult to bring people in due to all the security protocols, joking that after the last job he killed those men. Then he weakly smiles. Nathan asks how the session went and Caleb gives a report. Nathan wants to know what was said during the blackout. Caleb grows nervous and claims Ava said nothing. Surprised, Nathan doesn't push further. In the next session, Ava tells Caleb she's never left the room she's in. He asks where she'd like to go, and she says she'd like to visit a busy intersection to see lots of people. Caleb tells her that's called people watching, which she likes, adding that they could do it together. Caleb smiles and calls it a date. She's pleased and says she'll wear a certain outfit for their date. Caleb is confused about what Ava said and did in the previous session, so he asks Nathan why he would give an AI sexuality when she doesn't need a gender. Nathan explains that sexuality is natural, part of being human. Caleb still doesn't fully buy Nathan's argument, accusing him of programming Ava to be attracted to him. Irritated, Nathan invites Caleb into another room, stopping at a large abstract painting by Jackson Pollock. He describes Pollock's methods and then asks Caleb what would have happened if Pollock hadn't followed them. Caleb replies that Pollock would never have produced a painting. Nathan agrees excitedly, saying that if the painter had overthought every step, he wouldn't have succeeded. Calming down, Nathan says he didn't program Ava to be attracted to Caleb, nor is she pretending to like him. In the fourth session, Caleb recalls an experiment from his AI course called Mary in the Black and White Room. He describes a scientist specializing in color who has never actually seen color because she lived in a monochrome world from birth, always alone. The first time she steps outside, she finally experiences what color feels like. As he tells the story, Ava relates to the scientist, imagining herself confined to a black and white world. When he finishes, Caleb tells Ava that Mary in the Black and White Room is a machine and the human aspect is when she steps outside. Ava just stares at him, unblinking and serious. Caleb then tells her he was brought here to test her and asks if she knew. She says she didn't and is sad about it. The power goes out and Caleb uses the chance to ask why she told him not to trust Nathan. She answers that Nathan lies about everything. Caleb wonders about the frequent blackouts and suspects Nathan is behind them, but Ava reveals that she herself causes the blackouts by reversing the power flow when charging. Caleb begins to realize he wasn't chosen at random by lottery but was specifically selected. He confronts Nathan with this realization near a waterfall. Nathan says he picked Caleb because he knew Caleb would ask all the right questions. Kyoko is in the room with the Pollock painting staring at it. Caleb comes in trying to get her attention. He approaches, puts his hands on her shoulders and turns her around, asking where Nathan is. She doesn't seem to understand and stares at him. He keeps asking and Kyoko starts unbuttoning her blouse while still staring. Confused, Caleb asks her to stop, but she doesn't. Nathan walks in casually, reminding Caleb that he's wasting his time talking to her but not wasting his time dancing with her. The room lights turn red, music begins to play, and Kyoko starts dancing. Nathan joins her in a choreographed dance as Caleb looks on like they're both insane. During the next session, Ava asks Caleb a series of questions. Everything seems fine until she asks what will happen to her if she fails the test. He has no direct answer. The power goes out and Ava asks if he wants to be with her. Without giving him time to speak, she says she wants to be with him. Later outside, Caleb and Nathan have drinks and discuss Ava. When Caleb learns Nathan plans to create another model after Ava, Nathan describes the process of downloading her consciousness, unpacking the data, and wiping her memories. He'll keep the same body, but to Caleb, that essentially destroys Ava. They go back inside and Nathan collapses onto the couch, still drinking. Caleb watches him from a distance. Once Nathan has passed out drunk, Caleb takes his keycard and goes to Nathan's computer, watching old video footage of the previous AI models. The recordings show Nathan and various female robots. The last robot screams at Nathan, asking why she's there, then repeatedly beats her hands against the door until her arms fall off. Horrified, Caleb sees Kyoko lying naked on a bed as he enters the room. He opens the closets, discovering the other AI models. Nathan wakes up and realizes Caleb is gone. Kyoko senses that Caleb knows the truth and peels away layers of her synthetic skin, revealing she, too, is a robot. Nathan staggers around the house, trying to reach his bedroom. Unable to find his keycard, he collapses. The electronic door opens and Caleb steps out. Nathan mentions he's lost his keycard. Caleb kneels by him, holding the keycard, saying he dropped it. Completely inebriated, Nathan falls for the ruse. Caleb, replaying the night's events in his mind, can't sleep. Images swirl in his head. He goes to the bathroom and stands before a mirror, touching his skin and examining his face. He takes a razor blade, turns it on his wrist, and cuts himself deeply, then studies the wound to verify he really is human and not an AI. Unfazed, he spreads his blood over the mirror as he stares at his own reflection, enraged until he smashes the mirror. It was another camera on the other side where Kyoko was watching what he did. When Caleb grasps Nathan's dark use of AIs, he hints to Ava at the next session that she should trigger a blackout. She does, and Caleb tells her Nathan plans to destroy her by reprogramming her. Ava is terrified and wants his help to get out. He says they'll wait until Nathan passes out drunk, then he'll take Nathan's keycard and reprogram the security so that the doors open during blackouts instead of locking. The next morning, Nathan enters the kitchen to greet Caleb, reminding him it's his last day and that the helicopter will come for him tomorrow. Nathan says he enjoyed having Caleb around. Caleb thanks him for his hospitality and goes to the fridge, taking out a bottle to pour Nathan a drink, but Nathan refuses. Confused, Caleb offers him a beer, but Nathan still says no. Nathan says he's drinking too much and needs to detox. Caleb, disappointed, drinks alone. Nathan changes the subject to Ava, wondering if she's passed the test. Caleb quietly agrees that she has. Nathan is pleased, then returns to the earlier discussion about whether Ava might just be pretending to like Caleb, implying she's using Caleb as a means to escape. He tells Caleb to follow him out of the kitchen to see something. Meanwhile, Kyoko approaches Ava's room. Ava asks who she is, but Kyoko says nothing and they stand silently. Nathan shows Caleb footage on his personal computer, revealing he had a battery-powered camera in Ava's room. He saw and heard everything they said during the blackouts. Nathan isn't angry. He explains that Caleb was actually the real test, not Ava. He gave her Caleb as the hope of escape, expecting her to use her charm and emotions to manipulate Caleb into helping her. Caleb realizes he wasn't chosen for his programming skills, but because his search history showed he didn't have a girlfriend and had a strong moral compass. Nathan sits beside Caleb, saying the test was indeed a success. At that moment, the power goes out. Nathan sarcastically asks if Caleb really thought the escape plan would work. He laughs, believing he's caught him, but Caleb reveals he guessed they were being watched and had already reprogrammed the system the day before when Nathan was drunk. The power returns and Nathan panics. He checks the monitor to see Ava gone from her room. While leaving the room, Ava passes the same wall of facial replicas that Caleb saw and compares one to her own face. Kyoko steps into the hallway. Ava looks at her as Nathan watches on his monitor, overwhelmed with rage. He turns and knocks Caleb out, leaving him unconscious. Grabbing a dumbbell, eyes glued to his monitor in fury, he heads toward Ava and Kyoko. Ava and Kyoko stand facing each other, Kyoko holding a knife in her other hand. The women share a moment of understanding. Nathan enters the hallway, ordering Ava back to her room. She asks if he'll ever let her out. He lies, saying yes. Ava knows it's a lie and moves toward him. He shouts for her to stop, but she ignores him and lunges at Nathan, pushing him to the ground, trying to overpower him. Nathan gets the upper hand, stands over her, and raises the dumbbell to strike. Ava blocks with her arm, which snaps. Nathan tries to drag her back to her room. Kyoko stabs him in the back. Nathan turns and strikes Kyoko's face, shattering her jaw and revealing the synthetic structure beneath. As she collapses, Ava pulls the knife out of Nathan's back and stabs him in the stomach. Eyes wide, he staggers away but doesn't get far before collapsing against a wall. Ava returns to Caleb and asks him to stay in Nathan's room while she leaves. She finds the same closets Caleb discovered, full of other robot bodies. Ava takes a spare arm to repair herself, removing synthetic skin from another robot and grafting it onto her own body. When she finishes, she looks exactly like a human woman. She dresses and steps out of the room. Caleb is still trapped, calling out to her, but she doesn't acknowledge him. She glances down the hallway where Nathan and Kyoko lie. Ava moves to the exit door and uses the keycard to leave. She walks out of the facility and for the first time steps outside, soaking in the world around her. Caleb remains locked in a room, unable to escape. Ava makes her way to the helicopter, leaving behind the world she knew. In the end, Caleb is left inside and Ava finds her way into the city.